Kris. How you doing?
Ed, how are you?
You're in from Cleveland, huh?
I am, yeah.
Let's catch up on some sourcing news.
I'm gonna go grab a coffee for the afternoon. You wanna come with me?
Yeah, let's catch up on sourcing, but I'll buy. Let me grab my wallet.
All right, sounds good.
Kris!
Hey, Ed.
They make Priuses in smoking red?
Yeah.
This thing is smoking hot, huh?
That's right. My cherry red Prius.
I never see them in such a bold color. They're
You know
always
what?
sort of muted and understated.
My husband has one. It's gray.
Yeah.
So it's I thought I'd take a spin in the new one.
So your husband's meets the expectation I had about a Prius.
Yes.
A boring color, huh?
Yeah, it does. And it's a boring car. I hate it, actually. But I decided to drive the new one, so maybe I'd like the new one more. So we'll see.
So, in from Cleveland, what brings you into hot Atlanta?
Interviews.
Okay.
Hiring
expanding
new people, yeah.
The sourcing team, huh?
Yep, we're getting more business, and so we need to, staff up.
Fantastic. So what's driving this next level of business inside your world?
We're starting to see a lot more work in transportation and logistics, and we're starting to also get into direct materials, doing more direct materials with our customers.
What's gotten our customers to really embrace using sourcing services for their direct materials? It wasn't too long ago where, they were happy to do e-auctions, if you will, or electronic RFXs, if you will, for indirect materials, but typically they weren't too enthusiastic to follow some sort of strategic sourcing process that was outside of their company for direct materials.
Yeah, I think that we still have a certain subset of customers that are doing that, but more and more of our mature customers are realizing that sometimes the solutions and the technologies that they have internally to help with that are, maybe they don't have it, maybe they're doing it in Excel, and their supply chains have been much more complex, and sourcing those supply chains are more complex now, and so they need a different set of tools to optimize the decisions that they're making, and they're starting to look, those a lot of times don't exist within the four walls of a company, and they're starting to look outside for partners that that do have those capabilities. And historically, we've had solutions in those areas, and we're starting to sort of expand those and refine those a bit. We're going to be launching a new solution around raw materials, complex raw material sourcing and optimization. And so, that really aligns with what we see happening in the market with our clients.
So our solution suite, we're expanding that in sourcing. It's going to be specifically touching direct materials, raw material procurement, as well as logistics. Mm-hmm. What were some of the key components and thought processes that went into the development of this new solution?
I think the biggest thing that we've tried to do is take a value sourcing approach. So I think historically, if you look at the evolution of sourcing, it started out as purchase price variance, mm-hmm. What kind of pricing could we get, and then evolved into total cost of ownership. And I think the next level you see is really value sourcing, which is the whole supply chain and understanding not only what the cost components of that, but what are the impacts and services on your business. And that's where having an optimization engine that helps you balance making those sourcing decisions across not only price but non-price factors and attributes is really important.
So I see this intimacy growing between the sourcing services component of our supply chain operating network, along then with the whole ecosystem of mm-hmm. the digital interconnected commerce that really happens on our network across the broader supply chain. What are we doing to create some more intimacy or interconnectedness between these various disciplines that are at play in the supply chain?
Yeah, that's a great question, because I feel like that's one of the strengths that we have as a company in terms of being a supply chain operating network and having that ecosystem, is we're in a unique position to partner with our clients on not only understanding what the transactional data is, but also actioning the transactional data from a sourcing and contractual standpoint. So, my vision is essentially so that we can pull the actual transactional data that we're getting and put it right into our sourcing solutions, and they can execute the agreements. And then when they're in the execution phase, we can actually look back at compliance to see, are those suppliers fulfilling their contracts at the agreed upon terms, and the agreed upon, lead times and delivery times and things like that. So I think that, I for sure see a tighter link between, essentially leveraging our supply chain solutions in the sourcing arena, and then also the same thing on, the outcome of a supply or a sourcing event, being able to help with, measuring compliance against the transactional piece. Can I get a tall decaf soy no whip mocha?
Tall decaf soy no whip milk.
That's way too complicated. I would just like a Trenta iced tea, black, unsweetened, please. You were talking about earlier this evolution that's happening in your space, and the interconnectedness of the sourcing activities with being able to extract the transaction data out of the supply chain in order to really make the collective efforts generate more value for the customers. So at the end of the day, the customers that are able to move up this maturity of capabilities, to move up to this next layer of integration, what does that realize then to the clients that are sophisticated and doing this?
Yeah, I think that it helps them, one, I think, make better business decisions that aren't totally price focused. So price is always a major component when it comes to sourcing, but it's not the only component. And I think as more and more companies, we always have these external pressures that we have, whether it's, the next global collapse, financial collapse, or, an ice storm or a ash cloud somewhere. There's always things that happen. And I think, really critical supply components, particularly in raw materials and logistics that, a lot of times is delivering finished materials, it's important to have partners that can flex and react as quickly as you can. And that's not something that's easily determined, through just a price decision, essentially. And so, figuring out how do you place value on that? How do you make that a part of the decision?
So if you had a magic 8-ball and shook it up and read what was on the bottom, what do you predict as the continued path forward in this journey towards maturity?
Yeah, I think that we're going to see a lot more companies starting to source things less as a category and more as the like a process, or like a broader part of the supply chain. Companies are starting to look at other ways to do things, and so, in the new world, the straightest way from point A to point B is not always a straight line. It's a bunch of zigzags. So I think that, as things get more complex and things change, the ability to mimic that in the sourcing process and make decisions based on that is really, really important.
So as companies are on this journey, what hurdles or challenges or pitfalls should they look out for to keep themselves from getting stuck in their maturity?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is really understanding, getting the right type of people that understand, not just the commodity or the category that's being sourced, but also understand the whole sort of life cycle of that product through multi-tiers of the supply chain. So I think that's the next level too that we've seen a lot of our customers move to, is now they're collaborating more and more, and they've done this for a lot of years in the automotive industry, but they're starting to collaborate more and more with their strategic suppliers on their supply. So they're starting to go to bid together on, with their suppliers on transportation logistics, or, source of supply issues and things like that. So we see a lot of collaborative sourcing between your tier 1 suppliers and their customers on tier 2 and tier 3, essentially. And I think that that's going to continue to grow, particularly as more and more companies, shift more of their development R&D to and design work to their partners.
So if there's one thing right now that would be clearly the most significant thing people can do?
I would say that for a lot of our customers, raw materials and logistics, they're huge areas of spend. And I think that they should really evaluate the processes and how they go to market to bid to their suppliers, and the tools and methodologies they use to do that. Because I think that, you know, it's possible that they look at the tools and methodologies that they're using today and they realize that they're probably, you know, from 10 years ago. And it's a different world. Things are much faster. We need to make decisions faster. We need to make decisions more holistically. And, you know, there are technologies available today that help people do that in very rapid ways that, you know, considerably shrink the time to make a decision and to react to a decision in times where you've got, you know, critical, either critical items or, you know, external issues that happen.